Hi peeps, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name's Peter and I'm a protector in a professionally diagnosed DID system of 23. I'm here today to film a video for you on how to best support somebody with DID. It's really cold here, so I'm rugged up. With that being said, let's get into it. So the video I'm going to bring to you today is basically just a few little suggestions, things that we found helpful when it comes to supporting someone with DID. So whether that's a friend, a family member, a loved one, or just someone you're supporting in a professional way. Hopefully all these things that I list and tell you today you're going to find helpful. So the main one, I guess, to start with is when you're supporting someone with DID, I think the top thing you can do is be patient, understanding and accepting. We find it very helpful when we're accepted and understood where we're at in that given moment, regardless of who's fronting. It just, that acceptance and understanding goes a long way, and for us personally has been really, really healing. So I would say that the top three in supporting someone with DID or a system is patience, understanding and acceptance. Also, remaining calm, especially if there's a switch, because this helps the person to have a safe and secure experience and presence. And for people with DID, DID is a disorder that originates from childhood trauma. So, a lot of unsafe, negative kind of environments. So to feel safe and to be safe and to know we're safe with those that are supporting us is crucial in our healing and just our experience. Even if there's a switch to, say, an angry alter or part, I think it's important to stay calm and to help those parts through what they're experiencing in that moment. So yeah, be a calm, safe and secure presence. Asking the person that you're supporting what would help them in general, or whether it's in a certain situation or any given moment. That's a big one, is that open, honest communication and just communicating and talking about what would help. But also keep in mind and be aware that the person or the part that is fronting may not always know what they need or what's going to help them, and they also may not be able to tell you. But it can't hurt to ask, how can I help you? Is there anything you need? What's going to make you feel safe right now? Yeah. Touching can be difficult with systems like a person with DID, because again, DID is caused from childhood trauma, abuse, neglect. So intimacy and touching can often be a trigger, and it can trigger those negative memories and experiences from childhood that is caused or created the DID in the first place. So it's always good to ask before touching the person that you're supporting. Check what's okay with them, like what kind of touch is okay. Ask before touching. Find out what is and isn't okay, what they would prefer, and respect that and follow those boundaries. Another one is you may need to develop different ways to relate to different parts or alters. You're not always going to have the same person fronting all the time. You're going to encounter and experience different aspects of that person's personality. They're different alters, they're different parts. So you have to be open and willing to develop a way to relate to each individual personality or alter. Find ways in which you can relate with each one, because you're not going to relate to them all the same. Like, you're going to relate to the host differently to, say, how you would relate to one of their littles. You know, their adult parts need to be related to and treated to as though they're adults. But in saying that, they're all different, they're all individuals, so the way in which you relate to each one is going to vary. As it would, I guess, in a circle of friends or a circle of co-workers that you work with, you know, you have a different way of relating to each and every one of them. And the same is, you know, applied to a DID system. Littles, you might have to be a bit more, what's the word, like upfront and nurturing and motherly, or like, you know, in control, especially like if you're out in public and, you know, a little comes out, they may need someone who can kind of keep them safe and relate to them as though relating to a child, because that part is it is a child. So you may need to talk to them and relate to them as a child, even though the body or the body is like an adult. Let me see. Yeah, always keep in mind and think about how to keep the person that's fronting safe, especially if it's a traumatized, triggered part that comes out. So like littles out in public, you know, make sure that they're looking before they cross the road, and you know, a traumatized, triggered part in, say, a medical setting, if they kind of shut down. And I know with us, we tend to flop, and my support workers are often required to ensure when that happens that I'm safe. I'm not going to fall out of the chair I'm sitting in, or I'm not going to bang my head when I flop. So things like that, you've got to always think about how to keep them safe. When it comes to dissociation, keep in mind that the person you're supporting may not always respond to you or respond in the ways that you expect them to. Same goes with switching, you know. Each part is going to respond to you and relate to you differently. So you need to always keep in mind that, you know, that's going to happen. It's not always going to be as you expect. Even if you know that part and you know them well, if they're experiencing a trigger or a dissociative episode, they may not still respond in the ways that you would typically expect of them to do. So always keep that in mind as well. When you know, the person you're supporting, their different parts or whatever, are experiencing dissociation, you can support them by offering assistance with grounding techniques, or reminding them to ground. So again, ask them, what is it you need right now? Guide them back to the present moment. You may have to remind them, you know, that they're safe now. Look around you, talk about what you can see, describe the colors to me, what can you feel, what can you smell, what can you sense. All of that is grounding, and helps the person to sort of snap out of that dissociative state. Try to understand the person's triggers as well. That way you can be prepared for whatever situations may arise. And then you're better prepared to be able to support them. So it's always good when trying to understand their triggers to have a crisis plan in place. So I'll give you a quick example. Medical settings can be triggering for us, and we've had to have a lot of MRIs and stuff because of our cancer. And I explained to my support workers that, hey, sometimes this can trigger me. It can trigger my FND, but it can also trigger my DID and dissociation. And so I discussed what the triggers were and what that would look like in me. Like, you know, I may have like a seizure type episode with the FND, or with the DID, I may become disoriented, confused, regressed, and don't be surprised if I just flop and kind of pass out. All of that is just dissociation. And so we developed a crisis plan on how to cope with that. Things like saying to my support worker, like, you may need to touch me and, you know, tap my hands or rub my hands gently to try and get me back into my body. You may have to talk to me a little louder and more stern than you normally would, to try and bring me back into my body and into the moment. Take me somewhere quiet afterwards and, you know, throw a blanket over me to make me feel safe and calm, and just, you know, talk to me and just give me some time to kind of settle and ground after, you know, whatever procedures I've just had done. So that's an example, I guess, of how you can support someone, is just knowing what their triggers are, how to help them, and, you know, just being there for them during those moments. And by having that discussion with the person you're supporting, it helps you to be more prepared. So that's some of our tips and tricks that we've found has supported us. You may have some more, or some that we haven't mentioned. Feel free to drop them in the comments below. We're interested to hear what you guys that are systems that watch us find helpful for you. And yes, we do plan on making a video on how to support someone during episodes of switching. So stay tuned for that. And with that being said, thanks for watching. We appreciate the support, and if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to like, share, comment. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and take care, guys. We'll see you in the next video.